Here is some more lymphoid tissue. In fact, it looks like it's differentiated enough to be an actual lymphoid organ. And in fact, it is the most classical picture you will ever see for a regular old lymph node. This is a classic appearance for the lymph node, a lymph node, any lymph node, and I'm going to tell you why. First of all, it is covered by a nice thin fibrous capsule, predominantly fibroblasts and collagen. Secondly, there is a space underneath this capsule which is called a subcapsular sinus, and this is what is connected to the incoming or afferent lymphatics. In addition, these little subcapsular sinuses extend along the sides of the trabecula, which separates groups of lymphoid follicles, all the way down into the medullary portion of the lymph node as medullary sinuses. Notice that in every classical normal lymph node, lymphoid follicles are only seen in the cortex of a lymph node, and in the medulla of a lymph node, you see medullary sinuses, which are these lighter areas, as well as the medullary cords, which are chiefly lymphocytes with smaller amounts of cytoplasm. This is what makes a normal lymph node. Here is a little bit of fat surrounding the lymph node. I bet if we blew this thing up, we could see that's probably either a blood vessel or a lymphatic vessel coming into the lymph node. Here's a subcapsular sinus. Here is a secondary lymphoid follicle, also called secondary lymphoid nodule, with the germinal center of lymphocytes on the inside and the more dark lymphocytes because they have less cytoplasm on the outside. Here is a trabecular structure separating groups of nodules. Here is the extension of the subcapsular sinus along the trabecule to form a trabecular sinus. And last but not least, in the medullary portions of the lymph node, the sinuses continue as these rather linear medullary sinuses in which you have islands of medullary lymphocytic cords. And for the most part, most of the cells, the vast majority, 99% of the individual cells are lymphocytes. You probably can see that there will be some cells which look a little bit larger nucleated and more vesicular than the lymphocyte, and these are probably macrophages. You will see an abundance of plasmacytoid cells or plasmacytes. And of course, you have your normal amount of blood vessels and collagen as well, because fibrous tissue is what makes up the the trabeculae of the lymph node. So you will also notice that unlike the tonsils always have a very intimate connection with the overlying epithelium. A lymph node should not have any epithelium at all. In fact, if you see epithelium within a lymph node, it is usually quite suspicious for being metastatic carcinoma. So let's review some of the cells. Here are fibroblasts and collagen fibers. Here is a lymphoid space, probably a subcapsular sinus. This is 100% lymphocytes. These are probably 100% lymphocytes, maybe some of them looking more like classical plasma cells, which we will discuss later. And here we are now towards the medulla of the lymph node, which does not contain classically too many nodules, in which you have medullary sinuses, which are the lighter areas, and medullary cords of lymphocytes, which are the darker areas. And there is really nothing I could say about a lymph node. If you look at the periphery of a lymph node and you see thin blood vessels that look like they don't have any blood inside of them, they may very well be lymphatic vessels, and 99% of the lymphatic vessels coming into a lymph node are afferent or coming in. And there's only one or two, or perhaps only one, major efferent vessel coming out of that lymph node as part of a normal lymph drainage, and histologically they look the same as the afferent. So if you see a lymphatic vessel outside of a lymph node or near the capsule, most likely it's going to be an afferent. And you know what all this stuff is, don't you? You know that that's just old regular fat. So I thank you very much, and we're off to bigger and better things.